I didn't leave all at once. I like to tell people that I did that one day I woke up, saw everything clearly, and walked away with a kind of strength that feels clean and admirable. But the truth is, I left in fragments, in quiet realizations, in moments that didn't look like courage at all, just exhaustion finally outweighing hope. For a long time, I didn't even call it abuse. That word felt too heavy, too final. It felt like something that happened to other people. People with obvious bruises. People whose stories were loud and undeniable. Mine was quieter. It lived in the way my words were constantly questioned, the way my feelings were dismissed, the way I learned to shrink myself just to keep the peace. It lived in the apologies I made for things I didn't do, and the guilt I carried for reasons I couldn't explain. It lived in the way I stopped recognizing myself. At first, it didn't feel like losing myself. It felt like love. It felt like compromise, like understanding, like trying harder, because relationships are supposed to take effort. When he got upset, I told myself I needed to communicate better. When he criticized me, I told myself he just wanted me to improve. When he pulled away, I blamed myself for not being enough to make him stay. I thought love meant adjusting, so I adjusted. I softened my voice, chose my words carefully, avoided topics that might trigger arguments. I learned the patterns of his moods, the way you learn the weather, predicting storms, preparing for them, hoping they would pass quickly. I celebrated the calm days like they were something rare and precious, convincing myself that this was proof things were getting better. But the calm never lasted. And each time the storm came back, it felt a little stronger. Each fight became aggressive. One day, he slapped me. He was so sorry and vowed he would never lay a hand on me ever again. He hit me second time. He said he wouldn't do it again. Third, fourth, fifth. Then, I started losing count. Each fight began with small disagreement, sometimes even while joking around. One second he is making me laugh, and the other second I'm on the floor crying, not believing what just happened. It's strange how love can really make you blind. Was it even love, though? The naive me thought his obsession, his possessiveness, was love. Instead of feeling sorry for myself, I felt sorry for him, for his childhood experiences that made him that way. I felt so sorry for him that I stayed, even while it was killing me slowly inside. But the funny thing is, there wasn't a single moment where I realized I had lost myself. It happened gradually, in ways so subtle, I barely questioned them. I stopped talking to friends as often. I stopped doing things I enjoyed. I stopped trusting my own thoughts, because every time I expressed them, they were twisted or dismissed, and when I stood my ground, I would get abused again, until I wasn't sure if I had been wrong all along. I began to doubt my memory, my feelings, my reality. I became someone who second-guessed everything. Maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe I'm too sensitive. Maybe this is normal. Those thoughts became my constant companions. And the most painful part is that I defended him to others, to myself. I minimized what was happening because acknowledging it would mean admitting that I was in something unhealthy, something that didn't align with the love I believed I deserved. It would mean accepting that all the time, effort, and emotion I had invested was being poured into something that was quietly breaking me. And I wasn't ready to face that. So I stayed. Not because I didn't see the red flags, but because I kept hoping they would turn into something else. That if I loved him better, understood him more, gave him enough patience, things would change. Hope can be a dangerous thing when it's tied to the wrong person. It keeps you anchored to something that is slowly pulling you under. There were moments, small, Fleeting moments when clarity broke through. Moments when I felt a sharp, undeniable awareness that something wasn't right. Like the time I cried alone after being told my feelings were too much, or the time I felt afraid to speak honestly because I didn't want to start another argument. Those moments felt like glimpses of truth, but they were always followed by doubt. He would apologize, or things would go back to normal, or I would convince myself that it wasn't as bad as it felt. And slowly, that clarity would fade, replaced by the familiar cycle of hope and disappointment. I stopped fighting for myself. I stopped explaining. I stopped defending. Overall, I stopped feeling. I was empty. Not sad, not angry, just empty. I had spent so long feeling everything so intensely: love, fear, hope, anxiety. Now the absence of feeling anything made me realize that inside, I was shutting down. And I had accepted that. I wasn't even scared of dying. I was barely living. So I imagined me dying. I'm in my deathbed and I still feel nothing, and I reflect on how I lived my life. Was it worth it? No. If I am here, not scared of even death, then what am I doing here right now? Scared of making a decision for choosing a different life. A life that could be so much worth living. A life where I am smiling and laughing and thriving. We're all going to die anyway. Why not just do whatever you want to do and stop being bounded by anything? And for the first time, I didn't try to justify it. I didn't make excuses. I didn't think about his perspective. I didn't focus on the good moments or the potential for change. I just sat with the truth. And the truth was simple and devastating. I was not happy. Not in a temporary, fixable way, but in a deep, persistent way that had become my normal. And I didn't want that to be my normal anymore. That realization gave me instant strength. But more than that, leaving meant admitting that it had been as bad as it felt. That I had allowed myself to stay in something that hurt me. That I had ignored my own needs for so long. So this time, no matter what he threatens me with, no matter how much he blackmails me, I do not care. The only thing I care for is to live. And I don't mean breathing and just surviving. I mean thriving. So I did it. I was lucky that COVID lockdown had begun and he was nowhere able to come up to my door and do crazy shit. I thank God for giving me that realization, the confidence I needed to make that decision. But after that was no happy ending ever after. I got my freedom, but there were plenty of healing to do. Lots of trauma and lots of triggers I needed to face. I started to recognize the patterns, the manipulation, the ways I had been made to doubt myself. Healing isn't linear. When I look back, I don't blame the younger version of me. Instead, I feel compassion. All I want to do is send her love and strength. For she is the girl who stayed, the girl who tried so hard to make it work, the girl who loved so deeply, who was doing the best she could with what she had. And because of her, I have no regrets. I stopped seeing her as weak and started seeing her as someone who deserved better. I am still healing. There are days when memories resurface, when old doubts creep back in, when I question myself in ways that feel familiar. But there are also moments, quiet, beautiful moments, when I feel peace. Not the kind that comes from everything being perfect, but the kind that comes from knowing that I am no longer in a place that hurts me. The kind that comes from reclaiming parts of myself that I thought were lost. I am learning to trust myself again, to listen to my instincts, my intuition, to honor my feelings, to believe that I deserve a love that doesn't make me question my worth. And maybe that's what this journey is really about, coming back to oneself.